Top 10 fights in the history of UFC. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribes to my channel. 10. Roger Huerta versus Leonard Garcia, UFC 69. Whenever you put Leonard Garcia in a fight, it usually ends up being an insane contest of will. Facing Roger Huerta at UFC 69, this fight turned out to be one for the ages. Huerta was able to get the better of Garcia through his crisper boxing, but Garcia would not let up and turned the fight into a scrapper as he smiled after each absorbed punch. The fans were on their feet the whole time throughout the three-round affair that ended with Huerta as the winner. 9. Diego Sanchez versus Coro Parisian, UFN 6. In this 2006 war, Diego Sanchez came into his own against Coro Parisian in a battle that ended up being Fight of the Year. Sanchez was riding back-to-back wins after winning the first season of The Ultimate Fighter and looked to enter contender status against Parisian. Then known as the Nightmare, Sanchez brought it to Parisian and blitzed him with strikes, submissions, and takedowns, wearing the seasoned veteran down. 8. Chris Leben versus Yoshihiro Akiyama, UFC 116. Taking the fight on only 2 weeks' notice after defeating Aaron Simpson, Chris Leben was the clear underdog going into his fight against Yoshihiro Akiyama. Stylistically, Akiyama was favored by analysts, and the 2 weeks' notice only added to the uphill climb. But Leben stunned everyone with his relentless attacks, taking anything Akiyama threw at him while driving forward. Both fighters traded blows throughout the bout and battled it out on the ground as well. A decorated judoka, nobody could have guessed that Leben, a knockout artist, would finish the fight the way he did. 7. Matt Hughes versus Trigg, UFC 52. The dominating welterweight champion of the time, Matt Hughes took on Trigg in a rematch that proved to be one of the most exciting single-round fights in UFC history. The action really began when Trigg struck Hughes with a knee to the groin that referee Mario Yamasaki missed. Not skipping a beat, Trigg pounced on Hughes and barraged him with strikes against the cage and brutal ground and pound. At one point, Trigg almost had a choke sunk in as well. Somehow, Hughes survived and looked to put a beating on Trigg. At one point, Hughes picked Trigg up against the cage, carried him to the center of the octagon, and slammed him as hard as he could. 6. Minotauro Nogueira versus Randy Couture, UFC 102. Aging heavyweight stars Minotauro Nogueira and Randy Couture met at UFC 102 for one of the most intense clashes of MMA legends. The battle turned out to be a three-round back-and-forth affair with each fighter taking the upper hand multiple times throughout the fight. From the starting gate, both Nogueira and Couture traded heavy blows, rocking each other at some points, while also trading top position on the mats. Nogueira came out in the later rounds and wore the natural down, almost finishing him with various chokes that had Couture turning blue. He also was able to get the better of Couture in the stand-up, hurting him badly late in the fight before the bout ended. 5. Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen, UFC 117. Chael Sonnen did not only make a splash with his pre-fight diatribes bashing UFC champion Anderson Silva, but he stunned the MMA world by becoming the only person in UFC history to take the Spider to the brink of defeat. Fans were stunned when Sonnen powered through Silva for almost 5 full rounds. It looked as if the reign was over. But never count out the heart of a champion. 4. Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida, TUF9 Finale. Both of these fighters appear on this list numerous times and for good reason. When Clay Guida and Diego Sanchez squared off at the Ultimate Fighter 9 Finale, it was a clash of two of the most explosive and exciting fighters in the UFC. Both fighters share a relentless style that set off major fireworks. Sanchez came out and threw everything he had at Guida in the first round, landing an insane amount of strikes before dropping Guida with a head kick. The Carpenter recovered, though, and came out in the second round with a much better game plan, controlling Sanchez on the mats. 3. Frankie Edgar versus Maynard, UFC 125. Ringing in the new year with a bang, the UFC 125 lightweight title fight between champion Frankie Edgar and challenger grade Maynard had the most spectacular come-from-behind resurgences in MMA history. Early in round 1, Edgar was rocked repeatedly by Maynard, who was dominating all aspects of the fight. Barraging the champion with strikes, it seemed like a matter of time until Maynard would be crowned the new top dog at 155 pounds. But somehow, Edgar survived the initial onslaught and began pouring it on himself, landing crisp punches, powerful takedowns, and solid combinations. Edgar battled back as the two put on one of the best shows to date. 2. Chuck Liddell vs. Wanderlei Silva, UFC 79. When Chuck Liddell and Wanderlei Silva entered this 2007 contest, both were considered two of the hardest-hitting and most dominating light heavyweights in the game. This highly anticipated matchup between former champions was a dream fight that fans have been clamoring for, as attested to by the roaring ovation each fighter received entering the octagon. The battle completely lived up to the hype as all 3 rounds were filled with barrages of strikes. In the final frame, Liddell rocked Silva with a spinning back fist before putting him on his back to finish the round. In the end, this fight of the night was won by Liddell and proved to be one of the greatest battles in MMA history. 1. Stephan Bonnar vs. Forrest Griffin I, 2F1 Finale. Any list of great or exciting fights has to include this legendary battle as No, 1 because it put the UFC on the map. When Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin took each other on at the first season finale of The Ultimate Fighter, nobody expected to see such a back-and-forth war that featured the whole array of techniques in the game. Broadcasts live on Spike TV. The world was treated with an amazing battle that embodied the heart of the warrior and showed just what MMA could be. The consensus most important fight in UFC history, this war will always be pegged as the fight that took the sport to a whole new level. What do you think of my video? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching my video.